Hello and welcome to Big Orbit's Cardfight Vanguard week. My name is James, and this week we have had pure Shadow Paladins for trial deck cards, boost set cards, and a promo card, all for them. Starting off, we have the classic Skull Witch in the main. She's now a grade 1 and her power is increased to 5,000 instead of 3,000. She's a triple R with Act, Rearguard Circle, cost, rest this unit. Search your deck for up to one card with power 5,000. Call it to an open rearguard circle and shuffle your deck. This ability can be used up to one time each turn, even with cards with the same card name. So far, the only targets for this are other versions of herself and trigger units. But even with just those, it still fuels your retiring skills. Dark Mage Badhab Kar is a single R grade 3 with the gift marker, and Act Vanguard Circle, Rearguard Circle once per turn, cost Soul Blast 1 and look at the top card of your deck. Call it to Rearguard Circle or put it into your drop zone. If you called, that unit gets plus 5,000 power until the end of the turn, and at the end of the turn, retire that unit. Yes, more fuel for the fire, but this time with more power going for it. Unlike his previous form, you can use this every turn as long as you have the soul and he's around. It's amazing as it works on Rearguard Circle too, and you could get some pretty big numbers depending on what you bring out. And one last superior caller for the week is Abyss Router. She's a grade 1 with auto Rearguard Circle when placed, cost Soul Blast 1 and call a grade 0 card from your hand to Rearguard Circle and draw a card. An unfortunate grade tap, but if you're running non-PG draw triggers, you will most likely be better off by using this skill. The lowest thing you can get is a grade 3, which is still good in this format, and then you could get maybe a grade 2 with 5k shield, which will be the same as the draw trigger. And nearly any of your grade 0s and grade 1s will have higher shield value. Tragic Knight Cathbad is a grade 2 with auto Rearguard Circle. When it attacks Vanguard, this unit gets plus 3,000 power until the end of the battle for each rearguard you have more than your opponent. So it's a little odd right now as the Shadow Paladin cards shown so far have not retired anything, but the next 3 cards I'll show will help this out a lot. Plus with the main and her lot, you can easily fill the field, so if your opponent has no rearguards, you can get your field big enough to give him plus 15,000 power. Next up is the RR grade 2 Blaster Rapier. Her first skill is auto Rearguard Circle. When it attacks a Vanguard, if you have 3 or more units with Blaster in their card names, this unit gets plus 5,000 power until the end of the battle. So despite her lower power of 9,000, she does become a 14,000 without a booster. And her second skill is auto Rearguard Circle. When its attack hits Vanguard, cost Counterblast 1, your opponent chooses one of his or her rearguards and retires it. If we can assume Dark Dictator is going to be similar to his old version, then he will probably power up the front row rearguards, making her a lot more likely to hit. Along with that, giving the force marker to her will make her a 24,000 grade 2 on her own. And we also get the RR grade 1 Blaster Dagger. His skill is auto Rearguard Circle. When its attack or an attack that it boosted hits Vanguard, cost, put this unit into your soul. Your opponent chooses one of his or her rearguards and retires it. What's really nice about this is the lack of counterblasts, and instead it fuels a different resource. This boosting Blaster Rapier also makes your opponent have to retire 2 rearguards if it hits, so your opponent's going to want to guard if they can, leaving them open to other attacks. And finally, we will move on deck card, Blaster Dark. The last of the retiring cards for this week. He's a grade 2 with his first skill of auto Vanguard Circle, Rearguard Circle. When placed, cost Counterblast 1, your opponent chooses one of his or her rearguards and retires it. So a cheaper cost than Blaster Blade skill, but letting your opponent decide what to kill. He also has the pretty interesting skill of Act Vanguard Circle once per turn. If your opponent has no rearguards, cost discard a card from your hand, and this unit gets drive plus 1 until the end of turn. You're not gaining any more cards than usual, but the increase of drive check so early on can hurt your opponent if you get lucky. We will likely see more support for around Blaster Dark, as we had Alfred Early and Wingolf supporting Blaster Blade. If you're a Shadow Paladin player, the one card to look out for at the moment is Oracle Think Tank's Promise Daughter, due to her skill of not being able to be retired through skills, but still being able to be chosen. So if you're going to use the Blaster abilities, be sure to retire her through attacks first. As an OTT player, you may want to keep one Promise Daughter on the back row to keep her safe from attacks, while still allowing you to choose her through the skills of Blasters. Blaster Javelin is a grade 1 with auto Rearguard Circle when placed. If you have another grade 1 or less rearguard, cost Counterblast 1, draw a card. And this card gets plus 3,000 power until the end of turn. This is Shadow's version of Alan, and Alan and Marin have proven to be very good for Royals. He is actually a little better than Alan, as you don't need to use as many cards to get the draw, giving you a better value if you already have a grade 1 hanging around. The backup grade 3 for the trial deck is Smashing Knight Damon. His skill is auto rearguard circle when it attacks. If you have more rearguards than your opponent, this unit gets plus 5,000 power until the end of the battle. This is definitely fitting in the blaster side of Shadows, and he's just a nice 18k attacker like Star Drive and Crescent Dragon. Fold Bow is a grade 1 with auto rearguard circle when an attack that it boosted hits a Vanguard, cost counterblast 1, and 2 of your other units get plus 5,000 power until the end of the turn. This continues to support Blaster Rapier and Dagger. Whether this will be used or not, it will likely depend on if Shadows get a countercharger, as currently the counterblast costs are racking up. Lastly for this week is the promo card Knight of Darkness Rugose. He's a 7k grade 1 with continuous rearguard circle. If you have 6 or more units, this unit gets plus 1 grade, plus 3000 power, and intercept. The useful part of this is it also takes into account the Guardians. So if you need that last bit of shield while defending, Rugose can suddenly become able to guard from the field. With the support that we've been getting so far, it seems that Shadows are split into 2 sections. One that takes advantage of getting small but likely temporary units onto the field, and as we've seen from 1 or 2 units, taking advantage of very little units on the field, which would fit into the Phantom Blaster Dragon theme of things. Then we have the Blaster side of it, which like to have many units on the field to stay there, as well as retiring your opponent's units instead. And we've seen from before V that Phantom Blaster Dragon and the Dark Dictator have very different ideas of what they want to do, with Phantom Blaster Dragon retiring units and Dark Dictator powering up the field. So we may see 2 separate Shadow decks going for different goals and having different bosses. Also, Big Orbit will be hosting a CFV tournament at TCG Con at Stratford-upon-Avon in the UK on August the 18th. As well as a standard and premium tournament for Vanguard, we will be hosting tournaments for Final Fantasy TCG and Dragon Ball Super TCG on the 18th and 19th. The link for more information and to buy the tickets will be in the description. Please let me know your feelings on the new cards. There have been so many Shadows this week, so next week will probably be devoted to the other clans, especially Murakumo, as Kyo will be in the next episode using Zanbaku. So we may also be seeing the first VR for the set next week. I hope to see you next week, where I'll be going through the cards for the next 7 days. See you then.